So we've started on our next devised piece, our next 10-minute devised piece. We had some troubles choosing a piece that we wanted to contrast to Caryl Churchill's Heart's Desire. So we looked at more physical theatre practitioners and companies. So we thought about the idea of using Deviate and Frantic Assembly. When looking at Deviate pieces, it was hard to sort of get one that fitted well and that we could actually use, because a lot of stuff was copyrighted and a lot of stuff, the scripts weren't available, so we couldn't really take influence from those pieces. So we decided on Frantic Assembly piece. When looking at Frantic Assembly pieces, we wanted to choose something different to what the other group had done before, because they did Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time, and we wanted to choose something that was kind of more of like a basic script, so that we could draw influences from it but show it off in the style it was intended, in Frantic Assembly style, but in the way that it was meant to like show off our ideas in how we could show this script off in a Frantic Assembly style. So we chose a play called It Snows. It Snows is basically a really generic story about two main characters, Cameron and Caitlin. Cameron and Caitlin, there's this sort of whole idea of like a snowball fight, and the whole idea is like that there's normal day life, and then the day it snows things start to happen that are like different. So Cameron and Caitlin have this sort of interaction, and then they end up liking each other. This whole sort of awkward sort of interaction that leads to them sort of falling for each other, and there's like a party atmosphere going on, and there's like parents joining in, and like snowball fights, and it's all to do with how during the snow everything changed, but then it went back to normal when the snow faded again. So as I said, like a really kind of generic storyline, but in terms of what we were trying to show in Frantic Assembly style, we thought it would be perfect, because we could use certain ideas from what we felt like was trying to be said or trying to be shown physically, like a snowball fight. We thought we could show this visually really well with the style of Frantic Assembly. So we began by looking at the whole of the script. We read the whole script, and it's only a really short script, and we picked out a section that we thought we might do. So we looked at the snowball fight, we looked at a party scene, we looked at the bus stop scene between Cameron and Caitlin. We looked at the next day when things are resolved. Initially we thought of loads of different ideas. We thought of the idea of a chair duet at the bus stop. We thought of the idea of a slalom for the party, and potentially like loads of like smaller frantic lifts at the beginning, and have some bigger Frantic Assembly lifts at the end. So when looking at like in relation to like how we could block this out, that's what we considered. We experimented with different ideas to start off with into developing what we're going to now use. So in this first lesson, after we'd read through it, we'd got the like gist and ideas. We looked at experimenting with different types of chair duets. We went away into pairs and established characters. So I played Caitlin in the piece, and we sort of figured out with inspiration from when we did the Frantic Assembly workshop ages ago, different points on the body with a partner to create different ideas of chair duets in pairs, and then we came together with what we'd have done, and we created one chair duet from those combined ideas. The whole idea was that in the chair duet, Cameron and Caitlin are supposed to be cold, and as they get closer they're warming each other, and then their closeness in terms of relationship is stronger as well, and there's this sort of feeling of like attraction towards each other, this slight awkwardness as well, but this sort of sense of attraction towards each other. In the script, it has stage directions that say they sit, this is the journey of the shiver, they shiver apart, both their teeth chattering for a bit. Then he very tentatively starts to warm her, and then they warm one another. Little bits of each other's cold extremities going from freezing and shaking through everything, blowing on one another to warmth, to amazing closeness. So the idea of this sort of connection and getting warm at the same time. When exploring how we could do this, we looked at not only like the main duet at the beginning, the idea that the people around could signify the wind, could represent the wind and the external factors, and also into people. So we had the idea of creating the atmosphere of the bus stop by people walking backwards and forwards, slow motion. So the people, me and Marlon, doing the chair duet, and then the others in the background doing it slow motion, like actions waiting at the bus stop, and me and Marlon doing the chair duet fast, sort of showing this contrast and attention drawn to the people in the middle, but at certain points attention drawn to the people on the outside. This sort of idea of pushing the two together, Cameron and Caitlin, by the forces of the wind, and it's how like nature is forcing them together because they are cold. And it's a lot to do with the linking and the intentions we thought was shown, the linking between the coldness and that forcing them together, but then obviously not fighting against it because they have this like attraction towards each other. So that's what we first explored in terms of like a first lesson and a first look at this piece. I have a video of what we initially did and when we figured out the chair duet, and the eye contact is a really major thing. I think that in terms of the deeper message, there isn't really one, and in contrast to Heart's Desire and Caryl Churchill, who was a political playwright, Frantic Assembly is a lot about like devising about like movement and how movement can lend itself to certain characters, giving sort of intentions or certain characters' motivations, and movement leads that. So using the script to sort of find the movement and that leading character intentions, also with the fact that the writer's intentions and understanding the play as a whole as well combines. I feel like there isn't so much a main message when it comes to this play, and I think in Frantic Assembly style there doesn't really need to be. It's more about like the visuals and how that links with what the play is all about. So finally, once we'd looked at that chair duet, we'd brainstormed some other ideas of things that we were going to experiment with. So we looked at ideas of the idea of quad, jumping together in unison. We wanted moments of unison, moments of slowness, moments of pace. We thought about, because in the script it says that the party is broken apart by the bus stop scene at the same time it's happening continuously, so we could have the bus stop scene as like a slower, calmer atmosphere, and the party scene as like an energetic one, when using the idea of quad in unison as the party. And then at the beginning, ideas of like certain moments of stillness when people are talking and things like that. So yeah, that was our first ideas. We're going to look more into the other parts, probably look more at the beginning and the ideas of like other Frantic Assembly techniques that we can use.